Okay.
Hello, everybody. Greetings. Welcome to Discussing Tabletop. I hope everybody's having a fine weekend so far. I'm tired.
Yes. Agreed. Same. Mood.
It's a mood. I definitely think that age is continually bearing down on us. I'm not in great shape, and it's the thing I've settled upon. Traveling to a convention center and then going to the convention and traveling back, not a great way of doing it. Cheap way of doing it, not a great way of doing it. It's like after yesterday, I'm like, man, having a room and being down there would have been so much nicer. I could have taken a break and gone lying down, or taken a nap in the middle of the day for a little bit of it or something, instead of just sitting in somewhat comfortable chairs. Loud rooms. Anyway. But yeah, hi everybody. There's some interesting stuff to talk about. I've got the docket up over here if you want to see. It's been pinned over on Twitch if you're joining us. And we'll be discussing a number of interesting topics. Probably the only interesting thing that was announced at Pax Unplugged, which is kind of sad. Which I will we'll start.
It's also still ongoing as of now, right?
It is, but for major things happening at the main theater, there is none this year. There's a concert tonight. There's a concert with some people tonight. That's it. And so
strange.
Yeah, no. This is the only thing that we had at the we'll switch over to that we got some looks at Daggerheart. Basically, now I have to use my brain and remember what was going on. And who's that?
Oh, Daggerheart is the critical role thing.
Yeah. So the big thing from yesterday was there was a critical role / Daggerheart thing, because it was Matt Mercer and one of the other people from Critical Role, but they were showing off Daggerheart and talk about world building within using their system. So This is the point they showed off, here's our covers and stuff, which is, I guess, the big news. And they discussed some Daggerheart stuff. I didn't end up going just because of timing and stuff, too, because I just didn't have time. But someone that I knew that was there went to it and gave me a little bit of information on it, not a full breakdown. But it was kind of interesting to, hear that they basically described their method for world building within their system. So, you probably can go see that on the Pax, the Pax Twitch website, or Pax Twitch, the archives. I'm sure they have it from yesterday still, because they usually stream most of the big panels and stuff. But it was just an unfortunate thing that, this is the big thing that we got out of the convention, it seems like. Unfortunately. But yeah, no. We at least had something interesting in the main theater, but yeah. Yesterday, it's, Paul and Storm. Jonathan Colton with Paul and Storm is doing a concert today. And then this had the Daggerheart world building and acquisitions incorporated yesterday, and there's nothing in the main theater on Sunday yet.
Sounds like I picked a good year not to go. Not that I really had a choice, but hopefully I'll be able to go next year.
It's interesting that we did have bigger things last year, stuff like the 50th anniversary panel for D&D. That's a big event there, and some other people that did so. There was a few other things that happened during the weekend that were big. So it's another thing of me not going today, I didn't really miss a lot either. And I don't know, there'll be a lot missing from any of the other ones, so. And I did kind of look into some of the other panels and stuff, and nothing just stood out as big. But anyway, this is an interesting thing. We have more information on Daggerheart. Certainly speaking, it's I have a schedule for release. That's a thing. Somewhere in 2025. I don't have an exact date yet. And we know it's a 2d12 system, which is interesting.
Yeah, which I love curve systems, and actually 2d12 is nice.
And yeah, one's a fear dice, and the other's a hope dice.
Yeah.
So,
Specifically, its ETA is spring 2025.
Okay, that's good to know.
Which usually means Q2, if I'm not mistaken. Quarter 2.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, we'll have to wait and see, like, you know, if things... I doubt things will be necessarily delayed with the exact timing if they haven't given us it yet. It does mean that they probably have some things to finalize. Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
March, April, or May. That's a very big time potential.
Yep. So, there you go. There's the big announcements for that, kind of the big announcement from PAX Unplugged. You know, I didn't go to it. I don't think I needed to. It's one of those things is I'm not necessarily as interested in Daggerheart as perhaps, you know, others are, but
honestly, with how D&D has been lately, I'm willing to do anything except it at this point. I'm getting so burned out of having to, like, basically edit and correct everything to make it actually a good system.
I was having this, since this is tangential to that, I was having discussions with people about the problems with 5th edition. And it was interesting to see that a friend of mine had played through part of the Planescape adventure, but they said 2 things. One, their DM came to them with, you need 3 character sheets. Kind of like, you're going to die, you know, you have 3 characters coming into this. For the reincarnation stuff, I assume. And 2, they ended up using a bunch of, like, lore stuff that was being brought in from 2nd edition. And I'm like, yes, because the adventure is okay, but has problems, and they're not using the stuff because it's just Wizards have been doing a pretty bad job with a lot of stuff. So,
honestly, yeah. It's just they first did the OGL thing, and now what their 50th edition was, like, had potential, but they basically did a thing where, yeah, I mean, I've said it before, it's like, they didn't cook it for long enough. They didn't properly go through all the editing channels. They didn't play test it enough.
It's a 5.5. It's decent. It'll probably keep things going for a little while longer. But honestly speaking, 5.5 10 years on in a system isn't really good for the health of the system. It, you know,
especially when it was a 2 steps forward, 1 step, or honestly, yeah, it was 2 steps forward, 1 step back. They fixed a lot of stuff, but then they created more problems. Yeah.
It's new problems. There's some things that are a lot of things that are definitely better with it, but there's some new problems. There's some stuff that was just that was half-baked. There's just so many, like, little issues that are with, like, 5.5 that I'm like, yeah, it's good, but are we going to be using this for the next 10 years? I don't think that will last that long. They needed a 6th edition, I think, at this point in time. But they couldn't do one because they shot themselves in the foot.
Honestly, they could have done a backwards compatible 6th edition. They could have even just called it 6th edition. It wouldn't have done anything.
It's sometimes you have editions
brand recognition, I know,
that are very heavily backwards compatible. I look at when they did 4th edition Shadowrun to 5th edition Shadowrun. 5th edition Shadowrun, it is a different system. There is a page you can use to link compatibility. A single page with the details to do it. It is pretty close on. The major things are character creation is completely different, and they redid the skills. But they are connected in ways you can basically take this page and be like, oh, here's how I convert my character. This is very simple. It's pretty compatible. I can use this to basically bring things forward.
Which edition to which edition again?
4th to 5th.
4th to 5th. Okay, yeah. You want to know what's funny is at this point, I believe it's harder to convert from 5th to 5.5 than it is probably from 4th to 5th.
Yeah. Well, that was because for Shadowrun anyway, so...
yeah. Oh, you're talking about Shadowrun. I did miss that. Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, 5.5.
that was 2 editions that they did feel like different editions, but
Okay.
they
I
were
completely missed that you mentioned
Yeah.
Shadowrun. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's like I do feel like it's hard to convert to like 5.5. You have to rebuild certain parts of your character.
Some certain things are easy, certain things are not, and you just don't know depending on what sources you're using for before.
And I got so annoyed when you know how like they were doing those things where it's like this ability remains the same, this ability remains the same, and like when they were like going over all the changes for every class.
Yeah,
that's not true. Not all of them remain the same. That's something I discovered very not super recently, but like within like the past like month. I was looking over something and I'm like, wait, and I looked it up. It's like, oh yeah, no, this is supposed to be the same, but it's not. The one I that made me realize this was Wizard, and the fact that they nerfed something that didn't need to be nerfed. Arcane Recovery.
Okay.
Arcane Recovery, you can only recover up to half your levels, which I can kind of see, but you also only can do it once per day, meaning you can't split it up. You have to do it all at once.
Yeah.
So you can only once per day gain back up to half your levels of spell levels. Whereas before, it was like you can do it several times in a day. And I felt that was totally fine. Like, you're a spell... The whole point of Wizard is that they have a lot of spells to cast. In addition, they did add, you know, obviously though, they did add the thing where you can change what spells you know during a short rest. So like, there's another thing you can do during a short rest. But just to me, it felt like an unnecessary nerf, because it was just like, it was also such a minor nerf that I'm just like, why? Anyway, I'm getting off topic. I just found out about that, you know, like a month or 2 ago.
Well, that Daggerheart announcement. We can move on.
Yep.
So this was an interesting one because I would have loved them to talk about this at
Pax
Unplugged, but we don't have this. It's a new playtest from Paizo. Now, granted, you can play. When we were there, I didn't have a chance to really stop by, but they did have playtests for Starfinder 2nd Edition and for the new board game that they have, Pathfinder board game. Because it's sort of like, this is me remembering the name of it off the top of my head, which is a no. But I'll link the. This is their YouTube from their Twitch announcement, which is so interesting because I looked into it, and this is a couple days ago.
Are you talking about the Pathfinder Adventure card game?
No. Well, here's the announcement, but I will get the
What is this? Oh, that's
board
several
game.
years ago.
It's
Yeah,
on on the, if you go into the blog, it's on the Pax Unplugged schedule that they've released. They talked about what they're putting there, because then they're talking about
news about it that I can find.
Well, it's this weird thing that there aren't a lot of places that you can find stuff on this playtest that they announced. And it's a really interesting playtest because, again, like, I guess maybe they don't have it out before. So
you're talking. I did find an article. Do you want me to link an article I found about it?
I did find an article, but I thought it was just easier to use the YouTube that they put up on their channel because that shows everything about it. Pathfinder Quest. That's the game they were showing off. The cooperative dungeon crawler. So basically, like what we played, I think, but Pathfinder flavor. The I'm guessing kind of like Wrath of Ashardalon, which we played the other day. We'll talk about, you know, which is one of those D&D board games, but it's a cooperative dungeon crawler from Pathfinder. These are that's not the only. Again, this is a genre. There's a lot more than just the D&D one, but like that's the one we played recently. So yeah. Anyway. But and they were selling a few things there, but it was like they were selling like the current last 2 books that came out, the Divine Mysteries and War of the Immortals. Was that it?
War of the Immortals is the one with the animist and stuff.
Yeah, they had copies of those books that you could have got.
I mean, you were quiet for a second. I'm listening. Yep, you're killed.
Hello. Yeah, there we go. I got my. Apparently, I leaned down to do something, and I somehow got my wire caught on something, and I don't know how I did that because there shouldn't have been caught on anything. World. Anyway, back to what they announced. They announced 2 playable classes, and are very interesting one. One is a actual Necromancer class, because if you've seen the new remaster, there isn't like spell schools the same way. They could separate Necromancer and just have it its own thing. And the other one's an interesting one.
No necromancy, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Another one is a very interesting one because of Runesmith, and a lot of their lore deals with things like rune magic and stuff. So I'm interested to see that we're having this return of rune magic. Like, I don't think I've ever really gotten into it, but like that was one of the magics that the ancient Thessalonians dealt with in the Varisian Reason. Now, granted, they aren't the masters and the original scripters of rune magic, but they used it for their evil empire. You know, that's kind of thing. So they have a version of it, but there is rune magic beyond that. So it's interesting to see that we have the Runesmith and the Necromancer. And the Necromancer, it feels like they've taken some inspiration from things like, honestly, Diablo. Like, and my experience would be like Diablo 3, because they have, like, you can create these undead, and then you can do things like have them explode to do damage around them. Or you can sacrifice them to gain power back to yourself. I didn't really dive as deep in. I just looked up a few things on it and like read a few things on it. I didn't watch the entire 20-minute video.
Yeah, there was in an article I read, because that was quicker than watching the video, because I didn't have time in between when you posted that and now. But it's like the aim was to, quote, feel like you're controlling the battlefield with various undead forces.
I think it's an interesting thing that because of that separation, we might see some other types of kind of wizardy type characters that they have an option for that feel very different than a wizard, you know? And I think that's cool. That we can kind of like, you know, make things feel like their own class. And we might not see any really big ones, but like the Necromancer is really cool. I feel like that's one of those things is I like more class ideas, and when they're very unique and have their own flavor, I think that works very well to adding a lot.
I'm gonna be honest, this is better than the currently existing Necromancer archetype.
Oh, the one from the old core. Well, it's also, I think, better than like.
I
know
from
people
the
were
Book of the Dead.
Yeah. I think that was the one that was in. I think that was before the remaster.
It was.
Yeah. I think disconnecting it is a good idea, because like when it's connected to the wizard, it's kind of just its own thing, and it's not really as much of its own thing. And like, I think also making it, because it's a cult caster too, and that does fit a lot better than like, you know, because if I look at like older editions, there were necromancers that were either you're a wizard or you kind of practice necromancy as like a cleric or something, and then you're kind of linked to either one or the other, and they function very differently, but they're also like it feels better to be its own thing.
Well, the one that's in here, okay, I found it. It's called the Reanimator, and the only requirement is that you are able to cast Animate Dead with a spell slot. But I'm like looking at it right now. It's fine. I'm not like super sure.
Well, apparently the playtest launches on Monday.
Yeah.
So we'll take a look at what they did fully then. I think that'll be good.
So that's the only one that I see that is like significantly like necromancy character.
Yeah. Because I know like 5e necromancers in all forms have just sucked.
Oh, 5e necromancers are terrible. I mean, like, Reanimate Dead is a pretty bad spell. Or animate in 5e.
I get the feeling that like necromancers are supposed to be a really interesting idea, and like, yes, you can have like the necromancer villain, but like the necromancer character it's always been that kind of anti-villain, and people have wanted to play it, because you're like, I'm using the dead to fight the living, and that kind of is a little on the edge, a little edgy. But I don't think we've really ever had a really interesting one in most places.
Okay, no, here's the thing. The reason is not, like, concept. The reason is mechanical.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
A lot of people want to have a lot of, like, the idea of animating dead is to have a lot of minions. But even having, like, 5 minions is destroys action economy.
I think that's why, like, they're figuring out ways to you have, like, you can feel like you've got a lot of minions, but you're using them in certain ways. That means that's, like, you're kind of balancing out things. You're not, like, using, like, a billion of them at once, And I think that's the kind of thing is, people feel like it, but you're not, it's finding that balance between weighing the battle down.
Yeah.
So, anyway, cool. Maybe we'll have a chance. Maybe I'll take a look over them after Monday. Maybe we can talk about something like that. If I see enough to talk about, like if I look at them, but we'll play it by ear on that one.
Yeah.
If I look at the two of them and I'm like, this is really, really awesome, I should talk about them, we might bring it up again.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's an interesting concept as well, but we'll see how they use it. I mean, even if it's only summoning a few undead at a time, it'll be fine. Like, they already have a good minion system, and, like, even if you have to, like, do, even if it's, like, you have to spend, like, you can get up to 3, that'd still be really nice.
Yeah. That's actually something that I've been considering, like, adding in to, like, because does Pathfinder, the remaster, doesn't have, like, an actual minion system. Like,
Pathfinder? Yeah, Pathfinder 2 has a minion system.
I keep
Minions get 2 actions and no reactions.
I'll have to really look at that, because I do want to use some kind of, like, minion rules and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, minions are generally. That's why I was like saying I could get up to, like, 3, controlling 3 things at once is the most you can get, and you basically, as far as I'm aware, Witch is the only way you can do it, because you need Cackle. You basically need to have a animal companion. Well, you can use a familiar because you're a witch, but you can also, if you wanted to, get, like, an animal companion with the archetype, the animal companion archetype, and then you can summon 2 creatures, have an animal companion, and then boom, you have 3 creatures.
Okay.
It doubles your action economy having 6 instead of having 6 actions basically per turn, because you still have to use 1 action each turn to sustain and then do other things, and then 1 to command. So you have to sustain a summon, sustain another summon, and then command the animal if you wanted to basically stand back and do everything.
Gotcha. So we'll just have to take a look at, like, where it's going, and I'll take a look at it after Monday, and if there's something more to report back, I will. Play that by ear. But yep, Pathfinder Necromancer seems like, and Runesmith both look really interesting ideas. I think they've been, again, I think that's one of the things is, I did like a lot of the flavors of the hybrid classes, but I think they were too much dependent on the class they came from, and needed work. With them being like, hey, we're going to open ourselves up to being able to develop a lot of other, like, cool ideas that are unique and interesting, and different flavors of character classes. I've really enjoyed that in kind of this renaissance they've had in characters.
I didn't mind, and actually, fun fact, I learned that these archetypes, those class-specific archetypes, were actually not the very first one they did. They did do another one I found. I forget which one it was, but I think it was, like, something for it was for
I don't remember. Also getting a lot of classes too. That are, like,
but yeah, so the class archetypes. Well, that's the thing. Class archetypes, and then Well, oh, sorry, I should say. Are you talking about half class or the multi-classing class archetypes?
I was just
Or
talking
are you
about
talking
full
about the class
classes.
specific? Okay,
I'm
there's
talking
four
about
classes.
full classes, class archetypes, and then there's then the specific class archetypes
There's class archetypes, class specific archetypes, and archetypes.
Yeah. And yes, we're getting a lot of them to create very interesting combinations, and I'm liking that. Like the further three, the class archetypes, class specific archetypes, and archetypes are all very interesting things that do help add stuff. But I'm also glad that they're not forgetting actual classes too. Is what I'm kind of saying. You know, that we're getting some.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
We're getting some very interesting base classes to kind of like also supplement all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That we're getting.
Yeah, I do always worry about in the long run of this class is similar to this class but better.
Yes. So far, I haven't seen a lot of that, which is what I'm happy about. And that's the kind of
been good about that. I would agree.
I think that's the one thing that I like. That's where I like where they're going, because I haven't felt like they're like stepping on any toes yet. It doesn't mean they couldn't, but that's kind of like it's the balancing act that they're probably going to have to figure out in the long
Basically,
run.
each thing needs to be new. I mean, probably the closest you get is Witch being kind of somewhere between a sorcerer and a wizard.
Yeah, but I think
it's also unique enough to not step on either toe.
Yeah, I think they did a little better making it feel a little bit more unique in second edition
revised?
than they did. Revised too, but it's in second edition in general than it did in first edition. First edition, it very much so was like somewhere between a wizard and a sorcerer. It felt a lot like them because it just felt like it overflowed between the two of them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway.
Yeah. I kind of like to see Shaman. Although Shaman is kind of the animus now, actually. Never mind.
Yes,
I have it.
I think they kind of they've taken inspiration from some of their older stuff and integrated it in other places too. I think which is good.
Yeah. I just didn't want to think about it because I'm like, this is very this class is very complex. Well, it's not very complex. It just will take a lot to figure out every. You have to. I mean, Joe's probably gonna stick to 2 spirits, but if you wanted to actually figure out which spirit you wanted every day, that'd be a lot of work to figure out when you prep every day.
Yeah, well, again, I think it's the same thing of a lot of times when you would a wizard with their spell book, they usually just prepare the same spells every day. Or a cleric, I prepare the same spells every day. I could switch them every day, but I'm probably not going to.
I've actually always hated the divine caster or the divine casters having that. It's always bothered me. I like the druids and clerics. I always wish they had some limitation to their spells.
Let's move on a little bit. I think we've talked about Outgunned before, but I did want to bring it up here because they are actually going to be partnered with Free League now. I'll put the link here to the article in the chat. So, similar to the fact that more board products are really published by Free League, it's kind of a sub-label under them. We're going to get Outgunned, which I think we've talked about with its Kickstarter and stuff, is now going to be a sub-label under Free League, which... I mean, I think that's fine. We seem to do this. It's just a chance for, these medium-level people to have, a solid publisher behind the backs on them, And certainly speaking, I think it does usually help a lot of these groups out, getting their products out. We've seen a lot more of,
Outgunned is the one where it's it's more like a movie action flick.
Yeah, the action flick one. We've definitely talked about it before.
I know, I was just trying to remember which one it was.
Yeah. Just showing a little bit of art there. We've got a whole bunch of books in it.
Dragonbane as well. Wait, oh no, Dragonbane's already, Dragonbane's the same thing where it's under Free League.
But they do have a bunch of sub-labels of externally developed games that are being published by Free League. And you can always check the web shop to see the list of all their games and stuff. And I know it's sort of one of those things is I do suffer from sometimes missing talking about these sub-games because they don't always talk about those.
What the? You're sound. Your sound. What the? Me? It might be me. Am I back? Okay, it might have been me now that I realize. I think my internet is getting weird.
I can hear you now.
Okay, and I can hear you now.
Let me make sure I'm good on that. A lot of weird things happened just all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Let me see here.
It almost sounds like I'm coming through a speaker.
Does it for you?
Hold on. No, it might be good now. It was only for a second. It was only for a second.
It was for a
after I came
second.
back.
For a second, because my headphones died for a second, and one of my external hard drives where I had a Windows thing open for, it's gone now. So it reset too.
Oh. Okay, that must have been what happened. Okay.
I had like a weird little thing of like a bunch of like things plugged into my system just reset for a second. So that's weird.
You might want to stop your recording and restart it, just in case.
I that won't matter then. If I stop my recording,
well, you just have to stitch them together, right?
But I can't stitch the stuff I record because the way I record it with multiple, I have multiple channels when I record things on OBS to split them. When I put in the editing thing, I can't separate the channels out the same way in my editing software. It's a bitch. So it's just easier for me to go in and take them off for editing my videos.
I can show you how to do that. There's a way to fix that.
Because, well, I think it's the problem that, like, the way I channel things doesn't work as well because I put a lot of the desktop audio together, and my audio's fine, and you're in that desktop audio.
Mm-hmm.
And that I can't separate out things. So, would there be an issue, though? What would have happened there?
What do you mean?
What I'm saying is, I'll check the recording. I'll let it go. I'll check the recording and see if like I just have to use the mod for this one or something.
Yeah, that's possible. Okay.
I'll just mark that it was around.
Yeah, that was weird. There was a lot of weird things that happened because, like, then again, my internet. No, it wasn't my internet because now I just realized stream was fine. I was getting the stream just fine.
And the thing I can say is the thing that the external drive that shut down. It's now back in my computer.
Yeah.
Because
something weird happened. That was weird. Anyway,
technical
difficulties. Hooray.
It blipped for a second. You know, everything just felt like it blipped for a second, like connections wise. It messed with the sound too.
Okay, well, we're back.
Yeah. Anyway. Outgunned. I was talking about that. You can get the free stuff on the previous site. For sure. Stuff.
Yeah.
And they're going to be.
I'd like to try Outgunned at some point. Man, I really need a solid group of people to just like play games with every week.
I have to remember someone sent me a message, and again, maybe not going to work out anything for it, but it was about testing out an RPG game. And they sent it to me like it got lost in my email, but they sent me another one this week, and I just responded to them and I'd be like, sorry, it just happened that they got lost in the wrong place in my emails. And I didn't notice it until, like, this week, when they sent me a second one. I don't know a good situation for us to test this, is the problem, on stream or with recording very easily. And that's why I have to be like, I'm going to mess basically, I'll look into things to see if it's a feasible thing to do. I would be kind of interested, but, I'll chat with them. Yeah, but, that's something we can talk about. I think it's just, figuring out the easy way to make it work with my setup and stuff like that a lot of times and the way I do things. I'm sure I could find people to test it, but, that's...
Yeah, it's a lot of... that's some work. Anyway.
Yeah. But, Outgunned, I think that's a good about it. It was at, the Free League's place in PAX Unplugged. I did see it.
Yeah, their booth.
The booth, yeah. So, I mean, I've seen earlier in the week, because I do have their, emails, and so I was checking emails, and I saw, they're connecting with Outgunned. And then I saw that PAX Unplugged. I'm like, they're still connecting out with Outgunned. That's an interesting kind of connection. So, yeah.
Okay.
Shall we talk about something Chaosium's doing then? Well, continue to do, which is basically Chaosium. I don't know if we've talked about this game series that they've been re-releasing, I guess is the best way to say it. They've been doing the old 1992 Runequest game, maybe remastering. Remastered, I guess is the best way of saying it. So, I don't know a lot about RuneQuest. I knew of its existence, but I never had a chance to even play it or stuff.
I've played it. I've actually played it. It was one of the earlier games I played. I played a lot of systems before playing D&D. Because I had friends who just didn't want to play D&D. Although technically the first game I ever played was Pathfinder, but Pathfinder 1E. But up until your game, I never had one that went more than one session. Or was it 2 sessions? More than 2 sessions.
So this is the 3rd edition of RuneQuest Classic. And it's the Sun Country, which is a big, I guess, campaign that was very popular. The campaigns you could play from back in the day. So, I mean, that's a very good thing. We got, this is a campaign that you could play, 4 scenarios, a bunch of important people, information on, kind of what you kind of go against, all the kind of building stuff. I think I did get the Dracovin RPG there, too. They did talk about it a little bit on Chaosium's site. I thought the Dracovin RPG was a nice one. You know what? Chaosium site, we can go to you. You also give your blog and stuff. Yeah, I'll do this one too. We'll double link it. I'm okay with that. Chaosium deserves some love for their work. That's not his.
Yeah, so as far as I can tell, it's kind of like a setting guide of the area along with some adventures.
Yes, it's basically setting up, and I think theoretically you can tie them together for a campaign, but you don't necessarily need to do that. It would kind of, I feel like that's the entire kind of way that it's talked about. That you could build a campaign off of this, or you don't need to. But it was a big, this is a big major one. A lot of influence there. And this is part of their RuneQuest Classic line that they've been putting out. So this is them, republishing a lot of stuff from RuneQuest. So.
And currently, it looks like it's actually on sale to get the PDF free if you buy the hardcover.
Ooh, sounds nice. Yeah.
Hard or soft cover.
Yeah.
If you buy a physical copy, you get the PDF free.
It's very good. That's always a deal I really like when I see that. It's like,
same.
PDF for free? Oh, very nice. This encourages me.
I get a book I can put on my shelf, my brand new bookshelf. Now that I have a bookshelf, I want books, and I never wanted books before that because I never had anywhere to put them.
I feel my bookshelf with my Magic card collection mostly, but I do have some old RPG books at the bottom. I need a second bookshelf.
My bookshelf is very empty. I got bookends now though, in a variety of shapes. But that's basically it. I just have a bunch of D&D books and Pathfinder books over there. D&D, that sounds.
Yeah. Just to see if but, yep. It's a classic. If you're interested in checking it out, this might be a good point in time to, if you are interested in testing out RuneQuest and going for something a little bit more than just a simple toe dipping that you've heard of it and you're like, I want to do maybe an adventure, see if I want to turn it into a campaign. Honestly, this might be the thing to do. If it's enough, because it's enough material. It's got some adventures you can do, and the way that it's presented, as I said, I assume that they leave enough that you could thread them together to a bigger campaign if you wanted to. So it's an option to get an adventure, dip into it, check out some RuneQuest. Now, so Catalyst, good old Catalyst, bringers of Shadowrun and BattleTech, are bringing us something else, which is kind of interesting. They're bringing us Voltron. So they have a Kickstarter for a Voltron RPG. Now, I did find an article about this that I want to link because
I need to finish Voltron. I started watching the new Voltron that was on Netflix, and I never ended up finishing it.
Well, apparently this will have stuff from both of them, it looks like, because they have the Legendary Defenders and the original Voltron on there. But that article there has a link to the Quick Start, which might be on their Kickstarter page, but I couldn't find it with a quick look. So that's a very easy way to get to the Quick Start, the page one. But they are funded. I mean, it's a popular brand. So
honestly, especially because it wasn't popular until Legendary Defenders.
I think the thing is, it was popular back in the day.
I mean, okay, it was popular. Yeah, it was popular back in the day, but it did lose a lot because of how jank it was. It was kind of more jank than a lot of other things.
Voltron. I want to see how many Voltrons there been. There's been more than just the original.
Have there? I thought there was just the original and Legendary Defenders.
There was Voltron, Line Force Voltron, Vehicle Team Voltron, Voltron Fleet of Doom, which were the first original three, which I think were technically not all of them were based on the original Voltron. We'll just put it on that one. The original material in anime form. I do know that. I'm going to say that. I think the Lion Force one was the original thing, and then they did a weird one with, I think Vehicle Team was based on another space series, but they made it a Voltron one. Anyway, I knew one of these. I'd heard about one of these. There was a Voltron: The Third Dimension. I don't remember that.
Yeah,
and then
so
Voltron. I remembered Voltron Force, which was, I think I saw a little bit of it, and it was fine, but it wasn't really interesting. And that was early 2000s.
Yeah.
And that was more
only 26 episodes.
I don't think I watched a lot of Voltron ever, because I think it was in weird replays in weird places for me, kind of Sci-Fi Channel, Boomerang, kind of things like that, where they would occasionally re-show episodes of it. So it's I didn't have as big a connection to it, but I think novelty checking that one out, and then I never had a chance to watch the Legendary Defender, which is the really movie.
Honestly, I really like Legendary Defender. It's really well made. It's hilarious. But I also just don't watch a lot of Netflix, so yeah.
Makes sense. I'm just trying to look at these. Look up these freaking weirder Voltrons from back in the day. Okay, yeah, That was the Force one. And the 3D one is so weird. Oh my. So I can see why things went the way. Wow. I'm just going to say here, the 3D one, maybe it would have been better than I thought it was. Prince Lotor was played by Tim Curry in that. Tim Curry does a good job. But anyway, so a lot of weird Voltron stuff has existed over the years. We'll just put it that way. And this one seems to focus on the original and Legendary Defenders for more of their source material. They're putting them side by side. So.
Honestly, so that's probably because Legendary Defenders actually analyze the original when making theirs to make sure they fit a lot of that same lore in. But as far as I'm aware, they ignored the rest. That's why I didn't know about the other ones, because I was into Legendary Defenders enough. I watched the first 3 seasons of Legendary Defenders, and that was when they came out. I watched the first 2, and then I watched the 3rd one when it came out. And I didn't come back to that. How many seasons was there? 8. So I've seen less than half of it.
But it does mean how kind of successful and popular that one was. I think the other ones were there, but just not as. It didn't last as long. Let me reopen that. See, because it was. The Third Dimension had 2 seasons of a total of 26 episodes, and Voltron Force had 1 season of 26 episodes. So when you go to the Legendary Defender, which the first 2 seasons had 26 episodes because there was some smaller seasons in there too. I would say like.
Well, basically, you could for 3 and 4 could be combined into one season. 5 and 6, so you can consider it 6 seasons of 13 if you want to.
Which even then, like comparing it to like some of those 26 episode seasons, it's still 3 times as many episodes as the previous 2 attempts to redo this was, and pretty much matched the original Line Force because the original Line Force was 72 episodes. So I can see it being very popular.
No, it was very good, very well written. I loved their use of non-standard humanoids because I am someone who despises aliens being depicted as just I'm a human with like a weird head ridge. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Klingons, but you know,
Star Trek and Star Wars does a lot of it. Star Wars is a little better than Star Trek, but it's still not like great.
Star Trek and Star Wars, the reason they do get kind of passes was because they were originally on small budgets in a time when their CGI wasn't readily available. But I think that they're like Star Trek has gone a little bit better. Star Wars is still like 99% humanoids.
I think that's the thing is Star Trek with newer budgets have allowed themselves to go in that direction. You know, we've got better budgets. We can do cooler things. We're starting to go in that way. But Star Wars never really did. Now again, I'm not gonna.
Star Wars kind of started to in like the season in like some of the, but
I mean, at least Star Trek does give a good reason behind why there's a lot of like intelligent humanoid species. There was a progenitor species that seeded a bunch of planets. So,
which is I like it. It's kind of a cop out, but I like it.
It's an explanation behind it. You know, it's not a great explanation, but I'm like, okay. So basically, you basically seeded some DNA of like some humanoid things in a lot of planets. A lot of humanoid intelligences popped up. Okay, that's weird. But anyway, back to Voltron. I did find the quick start rules download on the Kickstarter. It was hiding in plain sight where I wanted to see it. Anyway, it looks as though it is. I'm trying to look at the dice system here. Is this I guess different ability tributes have different dice to them, maybe?
Well, I would assume if I can tell, it's basically your dice is determined by how good you are at something.
Oh, it's a tier system for dice.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, so it's like your vitality is a D8, your agility is a D4, so that's how good you are at something.
Gotcha. Okay, and it seems like they are putting out. It's going to be like the same system, but they're putting out books for both basically versions of Voltron. They have right now. I'm not gonna lie, depending on the rights, I could see them possibly visiting those other weirder Voltrons in the future, but it's kind of like one of that. Because there has been a lot more, kind of as we said, Voltron media. Because even like in the old days, there was the Evil Team one, which was kind of a Voltron, but also not. So maybe like that's one's a lot closer, So, but yeah, I guess you can get for the first one, the PDF, you get one or the other.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so
so for $20 you get one. You get one or the. Oh, sorry. For $20 you get one or the other, but for $30 you can get both PDFs per pledge.
Okay. I want to say it's actually a very interesting system. So basically you have your attribute dice, your skill dice, and then you basically roll. I'm trying to figure out how you get the third dice, but okay. And then the third dice starts off as something, and then it goes in a direction. I don't know. Anyway, based on certain things. But yeah, so basically you roll 3 dice based off the skill you're using. So like if you're doing like a intellect awareness roll, you'd roll like some D12 plus a D4 plus a D8 or whatever.
Depending on your skill and ability in those. Gotcha.
Yeah, which is an interesting system. I've never seen a system like that.
there are parts of the system I've seen in other places, but I've never seen a tier. Well, I really haven't seen a tier system that is on each individual. Like most of the time, like when I've seen like Earth Dawn has a tier system, but it's you add together your tribute plus your skill plus any kind of other bonuses, and that tells you the tier of dice you roll. You know, that's the kind of way I've seen it before. Where you get a number and then you look at your little like tier chart of dice you're rolling. But
that sounds overly complicated. I like this. This honestly makes it. This is interesting.
Well, that's also much more of a classic one. I think
that's
not
fair.
going to lie.
Older ones do get weird. I
yes.
Like it's so funny when like the whatchamacallit, the hobby was evolving. It was so weird just how some of them went.
I think I haven't played the latest version of Earth Dawn, and I think it's a little better at what it does, but like, you know, which even that was pretty good this time since the last one was published. But nonetheless. But yeah, no. It's interesting that you can get PDFs of both books for like the $30 tier, or you can just 20 for one of them, and then you can basically kind of
the most recent edition of Earth Dawn is 2016.
Yes. So I remember I looked into it when I started up, because that's around the time I started up my channels and stuff like that. I looked into it and I found out about it. Like, oh, I think it was like 2017, 2018. I finally looked into it and it was like, oh, they just put out a new edition of it.
Apparently the most recent version of Ars Magica is 2004. I didn't realize it was that old.
It really is sometimes. I mean, it's like you don't necessarily have to update editions sometimes, but
I agree. Ars Magica is kind of, it's complicated, it's annoying, but I can kind of see why you wouldn't want to improve it because it's kind of does what it wants to pretty well.
Yes, I think it's how well does it do, and how well has the evolution of your game required. I think for like something like Earth Dawn, they need a new system because it was like the first one post when FASA broke up. And it's because FASA, the people that had Earth Dawn also had Shadowrun, and they might have also had Battletech back in the day. And I know Shadowrun and Battletech ended up with Catalyst. But Earth Dawn ended up somewhere different. I think it's like a new version of FASA that also owns them or something. Anyway, back to Voltron. Yes, you can take either path. You can choose one or the other if you're interested. If you're more of a fan of the classic one, you can go to that one. If you're more a fan of the new Legendary Defenders, you can do that one. Or you can get both of them. You know, and probably it's got rules for playing in both of those. And if they are supposed to be like, I'm assuming if they're supposed to like reflect the lore that like Legendary Defenders is supposed to be like set in the future from the original Voltron or something in some place so that they can reference that lore but also kind of ignore a lot of it because it's kind of like it was in the past kind of things. I assume, but I can't say for sure.
Maybe I'll sit down and watch the rest of Voltron now that I know it's actually finished.
That's interesting, yeah. But so, at the Voltron Kickstarter. And again, I'm not gonna lie, Catalyst does a good job at a lot of RPGs. You know, like I've complained about 6th edition Shadowrun, but I mean they do a very good job a lot of this. They were trying something with 6th edition Shadowrun that I don't think worked as well as they wanted to, but it isn't unplayable. You know, that's the kind of thing. I don't like a lot of things they do for ways they try to simplify things, but I think it's still like, if someone was going to tell me I'm going to run Shadowrun and ask me to join and told me, like, I would say, what are you planning on running? And I would listen to them and be like, if it sounded like a cool idea, honestly speaking, I wouldn't say no. You know, a good adventure and a good setting can make up for some system problems. To a degree. I'm looking at you, Vampire 5th Edition. That's the Voltron. And then I think that leads us to this interesting thing here that I don't think we've really talked about this, but I did want to because I saw an article on this, which is the sealed products from November in the TCG player kind of sphere. And we've talked about Magic a few times, and I think like we brought up some of the other TCGs here and there. But we really haven't talked about them enough, and I think that's like now that we've been kind of trying to get into things like talk about Warhammer a few more times, I think it's good for us to take a look at this. Anyway, this has the chart for the top 25 products, sealed deck products in the area there too. I think this is, again, this is not like it's not like the price. It's like the popularity of the product, and we can see where they started market value at the beginning of the month and the end of the month too. And it's interesting to see that a Pokemon product took the top this year or this month. We also saw that there was I keep forgetting it exists, that there's a One Piece trading card game. And
apparently, there's also a Star Wars one.
Here's what it is. I didn't realize it was a trading card game until now, because it's done by Fantasy Flight, and Fantasy Flight does collectible card games a lot of times. So with them putting out a TCG, you know, like they put out a lot of like things like Netrunner, which Netrunner, it is a card game, but when you buy the set box, it is just that, you know, that's the collectible card games. All the packs are non-randomized. I think that's the thing about a TCG. It's like randomized packs of cards and stuff is like kind of what you get, and you don't necessarily know. Sometimes you can buy like starter sets and stuff, but I think the idea is there are, most of the time you're collecting a group of cards, kind of like that. I feel like the difference between the two. A simple collectible card game is you just buy the packs and that's what it is. You buy the set, that's what it is.
Hey, Lorcana's on here.
Yeah, Lorcana got a spot here. Pokemon, I think Yu-Gi-Oh has one spot on here.
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh's got the third.
The fourth.
That's the only spot they have. What? Oh, you're right. Fourth.
Yeah. After the One Piece Premium boosters, a big sell. Foundations, the Collector booster did a lot better than the Foundations Jumpstart boosters, or the Play boosters, which is kind of a weird thing. Which I guess Foundations, it was going to be popular, and I'm like, popular. I think it's one of those things is, with the first release, probably the collector's boosters are going to be the most popular that they're going to be. Like, with the collectors and the people that are going to spend money are going to spend their money at first. So sort of like, if we would see Foundations next, like, December, I doubt that. I think the play boosters would go a lot higher than some of the others by then. Because I guess, like, the collection phase of things would kind of be there. But yeah, it is definitely interesting to see where everything stands and stuff like that, and what the top spot of TCGs are. We still have Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Magic, but seeing like One Piece, Star Wars, and Lorcana on there, like I definitely am interested. Like, what's the other big TCGs overall? But that's kind of like one of those things is it's kind of hard to say sometimes, because if they're not showing up, they're not showing up. Yeah. I like this. There's a lot of interesting information here, and it's one of those things that if I was better at understanding what was going on in the like collector sphere for TCGs, it's good. But yeah. It's interesting to see that, like, Lorcana, we still have a product on there, but not as many as the others. And that was released last year, where Star Wars Unlimited is on its third set and seems to have a pretty good place here, you know? So it's almost like the Star Wars TCG is actually building itself, like, it's putting out enough products or enough lines, like enough different sets, that whatever it's building into is developing a lot more than like maybe Lorcana had its first thing, and it's like we can't really analyze it long term, but it's interesting to see that maybe they've got a little bit of like one's got a downslope and the other's got an upturn kind of thing. But maybe I should look into some of these TCGs at some point in time. I don't know if I want to necessarily learn them, but looking into them a little bit more. I now have to pay attention to Fantasy Flight again. Like, that's the thing is, I check their website, like, too, like, every couple of weeks, and they were one of the ones I checked from back in the day, because of, like, the Star Wars RPGs that they used to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I, for the life of me, didn't know the Star Wars Unlimited was an actual trading card game. I was thinking it was just another one of their, like, collectible card games that they would put, like, little packs out for. You can buy the pack, it's always the same. So they did that for a long time, but I guess maybe this is since the Renaissance of what's ever going on their side. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I wanted to just kind of bring that up and maybe, like, maybe we'll have some chances to talk more about some TCGs in the future that are more than just Magic, which, I do really love role-playing games, but, I try to bring in some other things like miniatures games, board games and stuff here and there, so we're not just talking about role-playing games, even though that's probably the highest passion out of all of those.
Yeah, I mean, I like talking about board games and stuff too. Trading card games, I don't have a passion for after Yu-Gi-Oh! Stabbed me in the heart way back in the day.
Look, the knife's for Magic, the knife's in my back. It's just not very deep in there. I'm like, this hurts, but this isn't that bad yet. If you could stop pressing that, and they're like, I'll think about it.
It's just more like for Yu-Gi-Oh! There was just the exponential destruction of like, oh yeah, no, everything keeps getting more and more powerful, and so your deck is pointless. It's like, great.
At very least, you sometimes get some of that kind of stuff with Magic, but not to the same degree, because it'd just be like, well, this card is intrinsically better than this card we did, but we did that card like 10 years ago. And they do that at least, kind of things like that. It's a little slower of a power creep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For me, it was like literally, oh, here's this deck that I'm building around and being very careful, and then suddenly, oh, here's a structure deck, basically just like a standard deck, with all of the stuff you have built together over a long period of time. Buying individual cards from a card store, because this was before the internet was, I'm not sure it was before the internet, but it was definitely before I was allowed to like spend time on eBay.
Alright, so I did go to PAX Unplugged yesterday, and I think I'm putting this kind of as a news thing, but also as kind of like our talk for today, because I don't want to go too late too. And here's the fact: I took a bunch of footage of like everything that I was there, and I walked around and saw a lot of stuff. I'm probably gonna have to like put that footage together from my phone into something to like actually process everything that I encountered.
Yeah. Now
it was
here's
a lot.
question. Did you record horizontally, or are you a monster?
I was a monster. Because it was much easier to hold my phone like this while walking around than trying to hold it like this when... Okay, so, let's do I'll talk. You can comment on my story time. So, okay, I go to the train station. I meet with the first of the people that I'm going to see that's going to be there. My cousin and their friend were going to come along. So we're going to go on Friday. So they're like, we can meet you there and go in with you. And then my other friend was going to get on the train at a different station. They got on the same train, but they didn't get on the same car because they got there like a minute ahead of time, because they were almost late. Anyway, we met up at the place, and here's where they've actually improved check-in. They've at the Philadelphia Convention Center. They for the last maybe 4 or 5 years they've had metal detectors. They've got really good ones now. The amount you don't even give your bag. You just walk through the thing, and if they detect something, they have you go over. You don't have to take stuff out of your pockets. Just walk through the thing.
Oh, that's cool.
They've gotten the good technology, so to say. But yeah. But that's very cool. But the entrance above the station we got on, which was Jefferson Station, the unfortunate thing that we found out was all the rest of the people we all had to get badges. They could get badges there. I had to go somewhere else to get badges. And it's like 30 degrees out. Fortunately, it's not a windy day. So I had to walk all the way around the building to another entrance to go get my badge and then go through a checkout again at like the main entrance. So the walking began right away. And then I went to the media room where I discovered that the pallet with their lockers was missing. They had they would bring lockers in. They were like little cages that they used as lockers that you could get, like, if you were, it was first come, first serve, but like other years, you get a lock, you could put it on there, you could put your stuff in there. Nope, doesn't exist. Okay. They had a couple of big special lockers that people with like electronics could ask to like put stuff in, expensive stuff. But other than that, it didn't really have a lot of space in those, so you really couldn't put other stuff in there. And it was just, if you want to leave your bag somewhere, you just did. So my first time exploring there, I just put my bag, the guy was nice to have my bag kind of behind the table, but it was just like, your bag's out of the way. And after that, after I went to lunch and got my bag back, I just had my bag with me the rest of the day. So, extra painful shoulders, because I couldn't put my bag down ever. And, I brought a bunch of stuff. Because I'm an idiot, too.
Unfortunate. Who was kind enough to let you store their bag?
There's a person that one of the people that runs the media room. They hang out in there. One of the I assume volunteer, but I don't. You never know if they could just be like a crew member too. I know they have like crew members and volunteers. So I can't say for sure which is which ever. Because I don't always know.
Generally, for something like PAX, they're generally all paid.
I think it's like paid volunteers almost a lot of times too.
That is a way. Okay, yes, that would be a thing. Yes, local paid people to come in and do some menial stuff. Yeah, that's pretty common. But I'm just like, they usually pay everyone at something like this.
Usually
that or their interns.
I can't remember, I know there's setups and stuff for that, but
no,
anyway.
I know.
And then it was just, walking the show floor, hang out with people, getting insane-sized pizza slices for lunch.
The best.
The normal size of pizza slice is kind of like, maybe this big. I don't know how well that's displaying. Anyway, standard pizza slices you get. So, I ordered 2 pieces of slice at this place that we went to. It ended up being me and my cousin, and I met, and River was there. So I got to see River, friend of the channel. They played in my games before. Anyway, the pizza slices that were the individual slices, they were twice the size of a normal pizza slice. So it was like you buying 4 slices. I wanted 2, but I had 4 slices worth of pizza. So then, I wasn't going to finish that. I was walking around with a pizza box for the rest of the day then, too. With a single slice of giant pizza in it that I had for lunch today. So it was an adventure in pizza. It was nice to see a lot of things. There was a lot of stuff there, but I also have to report none of the stuff I was planning on buying there was there also. Well, almost. I wanted to get the only magic set I wanted a set of Bloomburrow. The little animal set. All the ones that were being sold there, priced a little bit at very least the slightly above the minimum you can find it online. So
okay, like the individual were you buying individual cards or?
I was gonna buy a booster box.
Okay.
Right now, if you're gonna buy a box of Bloomburrow online, around 135 to 140 would be a standard decent price. So, that's the kind of standard you find. The cheapest I could find there was 140, if not more expensive. So there no place was selling it for anything cheaper than what you could kind of find. And I think this is just a result of the new kind of set. But, But yeah, like I've checked like TCG Player and stuff like that for like prices and stuff like that. And people can, but you know, there's the possibility of finding it cheaper. So I was like, well, guess I'm not getting that. Yeah, the current market price is $137. Most recent sale price $135, and I saw it for cheapest there $140. So, and then I was looking for 2 books. I could not find Player Core from the new Pathfinder.
Oh, really?
You know what I found? Player Core 2, Monster Core, GM Core.
So, I mean, those are probably just sold out immediately then. That's probably what happened.
I could only, well, it would have been really quick because it was the first day. It could have been. But yeah, no, the Player Core I could not find. And there was only like 2 places I found that were actually selling Pathfinder books. And I was looking around for the Star Trek 2nd edition book. And I only found places that were selling 1st edition books.
Huh.
Well, the 2nd edition one's relatively new, but like I would have hoped to have found a copy of that too.
I feel like you would want to have the new thing, not the old thing.
Well, I guess because they were selling a lot of, like, they did have the core book too, but a lot of the other extra books are there too, which they haven't really done stuff in 2nd edition for, so you can still use and adapt it. Because they have, like, adaptation rules. No, it was just unfortunate that I just didn't have any luck in finding anything I wanted to get, and then it was like, it was just one of those things that, like, looking around and shopping, I really like a Pax Unplugged, and it does have some good TCG stuff, so if you want to get, like, some Magic cards, or most of the TCGs, you can find something. But a lot of them, like, Wizards doesn't have really great presence, I think, and this year Pokemon didn't either. I think the only TCG that had any kind of presence was Ravensburg, the people that do Lorcana. But Ravensburg does other board games too, so they had their other board games and Lorcana as a section too. I think they were the only TCG that I saw a really major presence of. No one ever does anything for Yu-Gi-Oh! Sorry, Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, you might show up in some of the tournaments, but, like, yeah.
They're not very popular in America anymore, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, they've lost a lot. So, yeah, it was interesting to see that, like, Wizards is that kind of there, but they don't really put, like, they don't have, like, like, an actual proper, like, booth or display or anything. They're like, well, you know, we support these Magic tournaments you're going to do, or something like that. And for, like, there was a lot of the role-playing people were there, you know? Unfortunately, the Mendifius wasn't there, but, like, Free League was there. Paizo was hard to find, because Paizo wasn't in the normal show floor. It was in another area, which is, like, over by the free play area. They had, like, a setup. And so it's kind of, they were kind of in between the tournament area and the free play area, in the big room. Because, like, let me find the Pax Unplugged. You can probably find the Convention Center maps or something. Maybe I can show it on the phone. If my phone would cooperate and I could show things to people, that might be good to get a show for me. Well,
I took the phone and my phone just dinged.
That's not really the best way to display the map, but I'm trying here, because it doesn't want to go sideways for me. See? It doesn't want to turn. But, like, the one side was the expo hall, and then had a bunch of, like, stuff in the middle and a free play. And so Paizo was kind of sandwiched in with the TCGs, which it took me for, like, until the end of the day to find Paizo. That's how bad it was in, like, trying to find them, because it's like they were hidden behind Flesh and Blood. The other, like, one of the minor, so Flesh and Blood had something there, which is one of those, like, other TCGs that I forget about a lot, because, you know, it was them and some other TCG were, like, right next to each other, over by Paizo, kind of hiding them. So every time I walked by that area, I'd see Flesh and Blood. Anyway, so, but it is a lot of board games there. There are some role-playing games, but that's the thing is, like, and I love a good board game. I'm just not in the market to buy a good board game. I don't have space around my place. I don't know what I would do with it, and playing in person with people is really hard.
Yeah, that's the hardest part right now. It's just that, like, I mean, there's nobody existing anymore.
Yeah, it's really hard to find people sometimes. Other things I did see is Alchemy and what's one of the other, and Foundry both had booths for them in their virtual tabletops. Lots of interesting dice and other accessories. Wormwood was there with a lot of things. Norse Foundry. They've got a lot of really cool products that would be really awesome if I did more stuff in person. Like, I do love a good dice set. I got a lot of dice still that I don't roll ever, so I just can't keep buying dice. Also,
you don't have an apartment now like me that you need to fill. I'd totally buy more dice sets now.
That's the problem. It's like, I ended up, when I moved a lot of my stuff out, like, when we kind of moved into the household, I moved a lot of stuff out of the household into my room, and so my room is filled with all my stuff. Now I just don't have an extra space for a lot of things. It's been years now, but there's not really a lot of space in the rest of the household to move anything. Anyway, what else was there? I have to think off the top of my head. There's so many cool little accessories, like seeing some of the 3D map things that people have, or even the printed maps some places had too. People that do character art, lots of miniature places which are really awesome looking. Oh yeah, Games Workshop was there for their Warhammer booth.
Oh,
their giant Space Marine. They had a presence there. Which I mean, is good for them, but that was an interesting one to be there. And then also there's had to be half a dozen gaming table places of different types.
Did you play any board games there?
I did try a couple, not many, because again I had one day and I didn't have a lot of time there. I would say I've finally been in at 11. And let's say lunch took an hour. That gave me 6 hours to do stuff on the show floor, and I had to make sure to get all the recordings done. And I took some breaks in there too, because they start the number around 2,000. It's 100 is they do by hundreds in these rows. They number them by hundreds. So it's 2,000, 2,100, stuff like that. The number of rows go from 2,000 to 4,300. So there are 23 rows of pretty maybe depending on the size of the booth you paid for, 10 to 20 booths. So there are probably a good hundreds of places there that you can visit and see stuff at. Hundreds of people that are doing showing off their products. And in the lower ends where they got the bigger booths, they are a mess. I think that's the big thing I have to say about it. It was so hard to walk the original rows because you're kind of those first kind of few 10 rows, you're kind of winding and trying to figure out if I'm going to go see everything, how am I going to walk through here to see it? Do I have to go over there? Go over here? And I really wouldn't have wanted to go today, because I know it would have been the busiest day, and it was pretty filled yesterday. I don't want to know how packed it is today.
Yeah, because Friday is usually the day where, Saturday and Sunday are the day where all the families go.
I mean, Sunday's the family day. Saturday's where everybody that can get off tries to go. So I think Friday is probably either tied, or I'd say maybe Friday's a little bigger than Sunday, because that's the initial influx of people a lot of times. They go Friday, Saturday, and then family day is Sunday. But families aren't really walking the exhibitor hall as much as they're doing stuff there sometimes too. That's kind of maybe it is a little bit. Yeah. there was a lot of really interesting board games to see and stuff like that. And I like putting together the videos. Maybe I'll see some stuff that really stands out. But it was really nice that I saw a lot of game companies that we talked about were there. Green Ronin, Chaosium, as a Free League.
Did you go up to any of them and ask them if there's something new that they haven't told anyone that's coming out?
Most of them you can actually figure out what they're putting out, because a lot of the bigger ones have play tests of their games.
Okay.
So all you have to do is kind of see, what are they play testing here? What do they have a table set up that they're showing off?
Yeah.
But I would have to look up. Let me see if because I took I took some photos too. I have to see my photos to see which ones, because that tells me what games. So it was over at Amigo. I played I saw a demo of 3 chapters and learned about that, which was kind of a trick-taking game based on German fairy tales / Grimm's fairy tales / if you know the Disney stories, you know it. Where you're supposed to basically like use the cards to tell basically a version of the various tales. Amigo is a German company, so most of their games start in German, but they do an English version of them. Most of their games are actually language agnostic, so you can get the German version of them, and if you look the rules up online, you'd probably find, My one friend who I was meeting with there, who is old friends with me and Joe, she likes Amigo games, and she has a couple of them that are actually just the German versions of them, because you don't have to know the language. It's got like numbers on them or something, But this is one that has some language on it, so they were like, and it was an interesting story that there was a fan fest or something that was in Texas. They were supposed to be getting English versions of them. It got sent there 3 weeks late for fan fest, which was a week ago, so they weren't going to be able to ship them all up here to have English versions of them.
Okay.
So yeah, that's why they were like, well, we'll have them out eventually. And then we did get a little things. Gems of Iridescia was another one that I got a demo of, which was kind of interesting, which is a point mining / point gaining game. It's sort of like you reveal little things on a board. I can show this picture that I have. It's like a board that you reveal little tiles, and you choose a tile, you gain the gem from it. And then you can also mine that kind of gem. And there's like a number system that like the gems gain value as more of them are revealed, because like the more that you kind of like getting them into like that they're out there to become more precious kind of thing. And so it goes up from 1 to 6 for getting coins. You can sell gems, and like the amount of money at the end is like used to get points and stuff like that. And the market can crash so that the D6 can go over back to 1, and you can either use that to like your advantage to like screw over your opponent, like the market crashed, you were going to sell a bunch of these, but you only have so much space of things you can hold before you sell them to, so you can kind of balance it out. And you have to kind of like explore this area, and you can either go horizontally or vertically. Like you can only go up, you can't go back. So you have to choose when you're going farther into it. And like the first one out gets the most points, and then they can also kind of remove things from the board to force your opponents. But so it's like, do I hurry and get like the big bonus at the end, or do I kind of like muddle about and get more points that way? There's just 2 strategies. It was an interesting game to hear about. So those were the 2 main games I got full demos of. And I heard a few other games, but I never I heard a little bit about a few other games, so kind of was looking at some of them. But I got a bunch of video that I gotta like figure out editing together to put something out. But it's gonna be terrible. I'm not gonna lie, because it's like one of those things. Is like when I'm walking forward, it's a lot of floor until I find something to point at. So it's gonna be like I don't have a tri-spot or something like hooking it to my shoulder. No, I got it in my goddamn hand. And I really have to get some stuff to make it a better video thing. But I've never done a good video at one of these places. And it's just me. When it's just me trying to take the video, it sucks. But I did my best. It'll be terrible. people can
Need a
expect
GoPro.
that up. Well, like something like GoPro would be good, but this is like the only use I'd have for it, honestly.
I know.
I think it was fine. I think, I'll probably, again, want to talk about this a little bit more. Maybe not like a full thing next week, but maybe a little update of like, kind of like when I look through the video, if I see anything that I can kind of point out I was going to meet. But, there's a bunch of these like small RPG companies or like tabletop companies but I'm like, hey, I know that name. We've talked about them. Or maybe it's like oh, hey, I've seen them in previous years at PAX Unplugged, So, yeah. It's a fun time. But definitely speaking, getting a couple more people and taking, like, you take these rows and I'll take these rows might be good for one of these events. Because then you can actually figure out and do stuff, Maybe even sit down with some people more. I would love to sit down with more people.
I might plan around for next year. Just I couldn't this year.
Don't
make me feel guilty. Anyway,
it's also like just getting a place to stay next to it might just be better for like taking multiple days to do this. I could say I slept well, but I kind of just collapsed and slept when I finally went to bed. So I slept long. And, I can definitely feel it today, like, especially like my back and my shoulders really hurt. Turns out I'm good at walking around on my feet at least. Those aren't as bad, but my back and shoulders are definitely where I like suffer from here. And I was feeling it in one of my hips yesterday at the end of the day, walking around and moving around the convention center a lot. Being at a desk most of the day does not help for checking out stuff.
And this is why I go for 2 walks each day.
I should probably at least go for 1. I keep thinking about that. One of these days, maybe I will kind of get that back on.
Just start with a 5-minute walk.
I don't know if I'll be doing it right now because winter is coming. Winter is cold.
Honestly, it's the hardest time to start, but now is also always the best time to start.
So that's one of my first edition of Report on Pax Unplugged. As I said, maybe I'll do a smaller one next week, depending on how I look over stuff and things. And I still haven't put it off that I might not go tomorrow, but I'm kind of feeling like it's that thing of I don't know what I would do other than maybe like see one person.
It sounds like it was a pretty lame one this year.
It wasn't bad, but it was kind of simple, I think is what it was. A lot of the like details, a lot of the good things that we would kind of maybe
no major announcements, no crazy stuff.
There wasn't a lot of that like major stuff that would have been better in previous years. So again, wasn't bad, but like the fact is like the people I was going to see were pretty much there Friday. Like, I was glad to see River, but River's partner Aaron wasn't there, and River is probably not going to have much of it. Maybe we'll stop by on Sunday, and it's going. And, only one of my people that I know is still going to go on Sunday. So, sort of like, I could go hang out with them, but I'm not going to lie. They also live around, like, not like close to, but close enough, like within 15 minutes of the train station I went to. I could just drive to their place. Or meet them somewhere in the middle, where I just travel 20 minutes away and spend a day just hanging out, somewhere that way. I don't know, I'm just saying, this is a lot better than traveling to Philadelphia to hang out with them.
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to be buying anything else.
Honestly, if I go next year, I'm probably just going to get a hotel nearby and probably just allow you to sleep there.
If I might be willing to, I'd be willing to put some money in towards a hotel, honestly. That's why I'm thinking, like, getting, like, a couple of people for, like, a hotel or something. I am adapted to cot life, and I have a really nice cot, and I'd be willing to, like, sneak it into a place and just put it set up there. I did that for years at anime conventions, when I did those back in the day. I'm not against sharing a bed with people. Sometimes you're just sleeping. Anyway, let's talk about our week in gaming. How about that? So we're having Joe's game this week, so we didn't have anything for that. So I actually had to open up the game to remember what happened in Momo's game. It's been such a week that when I sat down earlier today, I was like, what the hell did we do?
Didn't we play a board game with Joe on Sunday?
Oh, did we? I know we played one on
Tuesday.
Was it? No, it was Wednesday.
Oh, sorry. I also played one on Tuesday.
Yeah.
No, I played one on Wednesday. You were there, but then we also played one on Monday or Tuesday. We played several times this week.
Yes, I think the one I hung out for and wasn't part of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, didn't we play Sunday? I think we played the Ticket to Ride, didn't we? The Space Ticket to Ride?
We might have played that on Sunday. I think we did that over the weekend. The Space Ticket to Ride, it was fun to try that one again. I think it's an interesting one. I don't think I want to do it all the time, but a couple times here and there, I don't think it's bad. But it is.
Yeah. It's got an interesting twist, but it's otherwise okay.
Yeah. There was the board game I think you had in the middle. I don't know what you guys... I can't remember.
So we played... We then also played the Dwarven game. The
Dwarven
Smithy.
Game. Yeah, that one.
We played twice. Because we played Monday with you.
Yeah.
And then we played Wednesday just the two of us, I think. Oh no, Tuesday just the two of us. Yeah, it was Tuesday just the two of us.
Yes. Okay. That was an interesting one, the Dwarven Smithy kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't bad. I do think it's very interesting.
I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like it.
I literally on the stream game, which maybe I'll get around to uploading it, or maybe I'll just let it be a lost episode because my OBS crashed at one point in the middle, and I feel like it was actually a couple rounds that were lost. So I didn't catch it very fast. So like I'd need to explain what happened in like in text or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It's basically how much time this week. How much time do I have to edit something? Like I've been super busy at work, and I've been pretty exhausted when I get home. And this weekend's gonna be crazy. So
I do my best to minimize the amount of editing I have to do constantly.
It's funny because I actually kind of enjoy doing a little bit of editing, but yeah, I'm just not looking forward to what I have to do is basically look at, like, scan through and try and find where we left off by, like, following it. And then from there, figure out where we picked back up and figure out how many cards were left. Then maybe do some math to figure out how many rounds we missed. And then explain maybe what happened in between.
Yeah, none of that's necessarily very fun, so I can understand that. So, yeah. But then we did do the Wrath of Shardalon. We did one of the adventures. It was a pretty simple Wrath of Shardalon. It was just kill a bunch of monsters, so I don't think that was a bad one. I did enjoy it. We'll probably do some more in the future. Hopefully. We talked about doing it kind of as a campaign version of it, but we'll see what we do. Maybe we'll do that, maybe we won't,
I also realized we didn't talk about Dwarven Smithy. It was a good game where you basically have to where you have to build things by collecting resources and then making things, and then you sell them, and then whoever has the most money at the end wins.
Yes. And there are special king items that it basically there's 3 ways to end the game. You run out of resource cards, run out of the
crafting cards,
or someone finishes 4 king items, and then it starts.
They call them guild cards.
Yeah,
and that's because it can either be apprentices, tools, king's items, or regular items.
Yeah.
But yeah, you craft regular items, but then king's items, if you have 4 of them at the end, it also ends the game, but you place them face down and score them at the end. So it's basically like your hidden items.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, we
I
played
think
the
the
same
first
game on
game.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday, and so the Monday game I lost. Tantus won.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's what we played on Sunday. Did we? I don't remember. We played a few games this
We
week.
might have done on Saturday the space game. Sunday started with the Dwarven game. Maybe Monday I joined with you and kind of because I think I was hanging out while you were doing it. The just the two of you. And
Tuesday was just Tuesday. Tuesday was the. I know Tuesday was the day we did just the two of us because basically I know I did something with you guys the previous day.
I remember Joe had time after Momo's game, and I think joined or did with you then, and I missed the message, and I joined later because I think we ended a little early for Momo's game on Tuesday. So I think we did do that. You did do the 2-player on that game.
That's what. Yeah, because it was Tuesday.
Yeah, and it was after we'd done the game there. Which I finally remembered what happened on that day. You know, again, had to reference.
It's been a week. It's been a week.
Basically, we learned that there was again. I'm probably missing a few details in my brain. Don't mind that. Evil cult that we've been dealing with. It's two of its leaders escaped. We were tracking them down. It seems like one of them was looking to get something in basically an underground ancient like astral ship. Again, it's very Spelljammery, a little bit. But basically, the one empire that had been in ancient war, one of their ancient ships had crash landed beneath this city a very long time ago. We went into it. We learned that it had basically an AI there, which we don't know what the hell that is. It looks like a hologram that doesn't like us, or like an illusionary voice that's talking to us, and it apparently doesn't like us. So again, I think we're not total idiots because we keep getting exposed to this stuff, but we're still not great at a lot of these things, so it's sort of like it's like the spirit in the machine as far as we know it is. It's like they have some kind of machine spirit that doesn't seem to like us. It can control parts of this. Anyway, we then find basically a person that was alive from the ship that survived by integrating with a machine. But they're like, hey, could you, I'm okay here. I've maintained my sanity. A bunch of my crewmates did this, but went into robot bodies, and they've kind of gone insane. Could you kill them? They're suffering. And we're like, I can help you by basically having you disable the, AI, and then you could use its, the stuff, the controls of the ship to basically fight the people that are, trying to do stuff here. Because the evil cult is on the ship, but we have to now combine with, AI controlling, deadly robots to try to then fight the people that we want to fight. So the idea now is disable the AI, take control of deadly robots, send them at the people we want to go fight, and then if any deadly robots survive, because they basically have flesh meatballs in the middle of them, of people that are suffering, kill them off. It's weird. It's a interesting storyline. I don't mind it, but it is definitely an interesting story. I don't think we did anything else this week, then, unless you remember something you did. I think that was it.
No, I didn't do a lot this week.
I think that's about all I did.
Yeah, I did do a good chunk this week, but it was all at the beginning of the week, and we already went over it.
Yeah.
What happened on Wednesday?
Was Wednesday was Wrath of Sharlan. Because I think I didn't stay up that late on Thursday because I wanted to go to bed at an okay time for
Yeah, Thursday I went grocery shopping. Friday I just chilled. What did I do Wednesday night?
Yes.
Did we do something else? Did we play another game with Joe?
Unless you two did something before I arrived, you could have. I remember doing Wrath of Sharlan. I think that was Wednesday.
Oh, you're right. That was Wednesday.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that. Even though I'm pretty sure you talked about it, I was just I'm tired.
Yes. It's been a long week. Yes. Anything? I think that's everything. I think that's everything that happened this week. I'm trying to think, and I'm like, I don't know. I think that's everything. So, hey, there was our week of gaming. I remembered as best as we can. Anyway,
apparently we're both just totally dead from the week.
I had like a bunch of things I had to do with taking this Friday to set up for it, and then taking the day off for that, and then this week ended up just being a little busy anyway. On top of that, so it's sort of like busy week, busy thing that I've got to be ready for. Insanity. So
yep.
It's
and me has just been, I need to get all this stuff done at work that I've been trying to get done, but I've had issues because people at my work are like to put me off and then complain that I don't do my work, even though I need input on things.
It's like, I need some assistance with this, and they're like, yeah, no. And then they're like, why didn't you do that?
It's more like, no, honestly, you'd be surprised how often it's like, my boss like says, okay, I need to be included on this. And then I try and include him and he keeps putting me off. And then suddenly it's all like, why haven't you done this yet? It's just like, he's usually not actually. He doesn't usually do that last bit, but it still puts the pressure on me. He's usually like, oh yeah, okay, we can do it now. Like finally. But it's like, I'm the one who has to be on top of it. So he doesn't like scold me for it, but it's like, it's just like, he recognizes that he's been putting it off too, but it's still my job to make sure it gets done, which is just a pain.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good place to end our week and our episode today. If I do end up deciding to do anything with Pax Unplugged tomorrow, I'll let people know. Otherwise, I don't think I would go long enough to interfere with Joe's game if I do decide something. But
that's fair.
With that also in there, I'm a little hesitant anyway because I'm like, just 4 hours of traveling, at least an hour and a half to 2 hours of traveling both ways. Just sucks. So 3 to 4 hours of travel. We'll see that. All right. Thank you for joining us today, everybody. I hope you enjoyed.
I'm DiamondWyrm.
You give your shout out there.
Yeah, I thought we were about. I'm like, oh, you gonna skip me? Okay. I'm DiamondWyrm. I'm DiamondWyrm. You can find me on twitch.tv/DiamondWyrm or at DiamondWyrm on Twitter. And DiamondWyrm on Blue Sky. DiamondWyrm on YouTube, kind of. I don't have. It's not just /DiamondWyrm though, like it is for some people because I don't have enough followers. So follow me there, or no, subscribe. That's it on YouTube. Like and comment as well. Basically, I'll probably do more of what I've been doing the past, well, not week, because I haven't done much this week, but, yeah, what I've been doing recently is, working on the map for Tantus's game, working on my character for Tantus's game, working on my character's backstory for Tantus's game. That's basically been my streams lately. So, hopefully we'll see what happens when you pick a date for that, because then I'll have to actually finish things instead of doing what I do best and continually change things until I have to make a decision.
I understand. Well, I do have to kind of sit down with you and Joe more and talk about some backstory stuff at some point. But I've been trying to put some things together. And honestly, the one thing that I wanted to do this week that I didn't have time for was doing more of checking in with some other people about joining and stuff like that. Like I had that's it. I hit up the people I wanted to, in which still have one maybe. Like the people that I'm like, I know these people will be good. That's the kind of thing like that. Now I've kind of got to go to the secondary, tertiary groups of people like that I kind of would be interested in joining this. So again, it's that trying to build the people that I know would go well with second edition and stuff like that too, and would be interested in stuff. So I gotta just check in with Momo and see what they think about this, because like if they can't join, they can't join. But I haven't done that either. Again, busy week. Wanted to do a bunch of stuff. So have my schedule up for myself. Dracovin. Check my social media stuff. That's Discord, Blue Sky, X/Twitter, all that kind of stuff. I'll have the schedule up on Monday. I'm almost done Elden Ring, honestly, so I'm going to start trying to get some other games into the cycle, but I might not this next week just because I haven't had time to think about that kind of thing, like add some other stuff onto my agenda. So, probably going to be, it might be the finale with just 2 more sessions of Elden Ring, honestly speaking, so we'll see. We're close to it, at the very least. And then more tabletop stuff. The new game is on the horizon, working on that. I don't know when I'm going to start that yet, just because it still has some work, but I'm playing that by ear. And hopefully sooner rather than later. We'll see. And then as much as I can work on it. And anything else that's coming up, I'll let people know. And next week, I'll maybe chat a little bit more about Pax Unplugged when I look through all my video and stuff and think about that. So, all right, everybody, have a great rest of your day, rest of your weekend, and check out Worm. And I'll be back on Tuesday. So, till next time, though, bid all of you out there a great farewell and say bye.
Bye.